Hello everyone, and today we're going to be talking about Total War 40k. You see, the announcement was weird. Not that it isn't exciting, but the starting races just seemed a bit odd there. We got the Space Marines, the Eldar, the Orcs, all good, and then randomly the Imperial Guard. Mind you, probably a push from Games Workshop considering how much they really like the TheSaltyCanadian models. A lot of people were asking, where are the Chaos Space Marines? This kind of felt like we were going to get the usual four-way matchup. Those are generally seen as the big four to introduce, different styles of... Well, I'm not going to say good versus evil, because I play Soul Drinkers. But obviously, those starting races have sparked the conversation of when we'll see some certain races or factions come in, and I kind of want to talk about the ones that I'm most excited about. Keep in mind that Total War Warhammer 40k, which is a hell of a mouthful, is likely going to be a huge DLC farm. There are so many races and factions, I can't wait to see in-game, and let's be honest, it's going to be an interesting one. So yeah, let's talk about some pretty cool races. But before anything, a big thank you to our video sponsor, Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is a platform where you'll be able to buy games at a discounted rate. February is the shortest month of the year, and also the tightest month. But it's very likely that you want a new game, so why not get yourself a great deal? I, myself, am waiting for Resident Evil Requiem now. I can't wait, it's going to release this month. I've got myself the pre-order already, and I'm super excited. I can't wait to see what has actually happened with the whole return to Raccoon City. There are loads of games on offer, even those that haven't released just yet, so you should check it out. Not only that, but we have our monthly giveaway going on. Win the game of your choice. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below and sign up. You don't even have to make a purchase. This is a company I've been working with for quite some time now, and I'm really happy to promote these guys. I use their services too. I've gotten some good deals. Like, I bought the whole Stellaris collection here for dirt cheap, which was amazing, because yeah, that's a lot of DLC. So big thank you once again to Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video. Now let's return to our regularly scheduled programming. Alright, for context, I'm not going to talk about the races already in game, because obviously, we know they're coming. But I want to talk about the ones and even some specific sub-factions that I myself play on the tabletop, and I'm really excited about the prospect of them being here. Again, knowing my luck, same as what's happened with Warhammer Fantasy, I'm going to have to wait a while because all my factions are usually last. Alright, let's start off with a race that I have already talked about in its own video, the Tau. Yeah, make your jokes, but I unironically have been a massive fan of the Tau since Fire Warrior. That's literally what got me to play them. And yeah, I mean, look, it's very different. This is not a faction that you're going to get a lot of melee with unless you're playing with Farsight, and even then pretty much just Farsight. It's very range focused, and it's so versatile at that because you've got fast moving range, a lot of different types of drones, your shooting is some of the best and even the largest range capacity for a lot of the factions. Sure, if the enemies get up close to you, you're kind of screwed, but the idea with the Tau is to make sure that the enemies can't get to you. You hit them with marker lights and then you're blasting them before they even get to you. The versatility in range combat is great because you've got stealth drones, you've got stealth suits, you've got loads and loads of cool mech suits that will get you in and out of the battle very quickly. One of my favorite lists back in 8th edition wasn't great, but it was kind of thematic, get some Devilfish in there, a bunch of Fire Warriors coming out. It was essentially just like a moving gun line. Well, Pathfinders became kind of popular at that point too. Nowadays, I don't know how well the Tau play. I haven't played a lot of 10th edition in all honesty, but as you guys are aware, I've been kind of... Well, I have been enamored by Old World. It's great to get fantasy back. But I do intend to come back for 11th. As far as I'm aware, a lot of mech suits are very popular, especially since there seems to be combat patrols focusing around that, which I'm not too keen on. Again, I don't play to win when it comes to 40k, I play to have fun, so I like making the lists that you'd kind of build up in Dawn of War. The best way to explain Tau to those who might not know 40k that well is essentially the Gundam faction. And they do that very, very well. A lot of the Forge World stuff is pretty awesome. I have a Tau now. The Manta also, it's a huge ship. God, I really need to paint that at some point. Yeah, I mean, it's really fun. And there's also extra bits to it. The Tau had the benefit of having loads of sub-factions attached to it. So, yeah, crap melee, right? Well, bring in the Kroot. These are avian warriors which kind of mutate as they eat. It's very interesting. Then you've got the Guavessa, which is essentially just the Traitor Imperial Guard. Well, I won't call them Traitor because those are more chaos related, but yeah, it's essentially those who have been subjugated by the Tau Empire. There's the Vespid, which are very fast flying, very good damage. I think that we could end up getting quite a really fun faction with the Tau. And if things go well, considering that Games Workshop seems to be wanting to do a decent amount with the Kroot recently, maybe it could be expanded to a Kroot-only sub-faction. That's stuff that would be great. I mean, we don't really have sub-factions at the moment in the fantasy version, but 40k has loads and loads of potential for that. The Dark Mechanicum doesn't have a official army for 40k just yet, but it's only a matter of time, I'd say. They've recently just had a small range, actually tiny because it's on the 30k version of Epic, but it's only a matter of time until they start getting those proper sized and also moved on to 40k with their own models. And the Dark Mechanicus is just basically the Adeptus Mechanicus, just, chaosified. And I think that's pretty cool. The Adeptus Mechanicus is awesome, and I think it's only a matter of time for them. But I really hope that we get the Dark Mech, because a lot of people do like the idea. There's all these little hints in the lore and what they're doing, and it would be awesome to see that finally represented in 40k, not only in just Total War, but in miniature form. The stuff that's been shown for 30k, which is like the prequel essentially, that's probably the best way of explaining it, is awesome. I like it. I like the styling, and I think that could work out really well there. What I don't want is just, buy kits from this and turn it evil. I mean, that's kind of like a thing with Traitor Guard, and we're going to talk about them a little bit later. I do think that they're going to use the Mechanicum as a way to introduce the Chaos Knights. Kind of like a mixed roster until, I guess, Knights, both Loyalist and Chaos, actually have a lot more going for them. It's a very small book, but I feel like it could be really fun. Honestly, Dark Mechanicum, I think, has been on the bucket list or the wish list for a lot of people. Games Workshop have been slowly introducing a lot more factions now, so I don't think it's going to take too long. And I imagine that if it's still not on the bucket list, Creative Assembly can just do what they did with Grand Cafe and Kislev, offering to jump into it, and then it's just going to be easier for them. I want to see something more evil, right? I want to see the 30k style attached, kind of mixed up with the normal Loyalist Mechanicum, just really evil, though. I don't know, there's something in my head about it, and I would love to see this faction, just because, the Mechanicum stuff is always cool. So just imagine what an evil one would be. Okay, we're going to talk about a Loyalist faction, and this is going to be the Adepta Sororitas, or, Sisters of Battle. Nuns with guns. Everyone loves the Sisters of Battle, and, oh my god, it's such a good army. Ever since they got updated, with the new models in plastic, because they had metal models for the longest time. I know some people would say it's like, well, what's the point of them? But I absolutely adore them. It's naturally very similar tech to that of the Space Marines, but they do have some other stuff, like the Immolator tank, the Exorcist. It's a lot of bolter fire. There's a lot of flamers too, because nuns with heavy fire. Put it this way. A lot of Guard are terrified of the Sisters of Battle, and they have caused a lot of internal drama because their version of the Emperor is slightly different sometimes, and they're very, very devout. I don't know, man. I see them. I love the armor. I think it's really, really cool. This is basically another shooty faction. It's going to be very similar to that of the Space Marines. Lots of heavy bolters. Some very heavy guns too, because the Retributor squads are still a thing. They've got their own mechs also, which are the Mortifiers, the Penitent Engines. The Paragon Warsuits are actually one of my favorites too, because they just look a little bit better than the buggy that the Space Marines have. I know a lot of people would be saying, well, their gameplay might be very similar. And yeah, I mean, mechanics would be different. But I think the Sisters of Battle don't get as much love as they generally should get. Let's be very honest there. There's loads of stuff that we've never really seen for this faction. There's a lot of just separate groups of Adepta Sororitas that just never really get introduced too well, and maybe Total War would be the best way to do that. I could see heavy faith mechanics and like purging of planets, maybe even having reasons to fight against other loyalist factions, turning against the Guard, turning against maybe even some Space Marines because you just suspect them of heresy. There could even be a mechanic that allows you to accuse other loyalist factions of heretical stuff. I don't know, man. It's just the more I think of it, the more I kind of want it. Alright, next is the Drukhari, also known as the Dark Eldar. So we are getting Eldar for the launch of the game, but the Dark Eldar have always resonated really, really well in terms of styling. The bad thing is just they've not really had a lot of model updates. Thankfully, however, Kill Team has been wonderful there, but yeah, think about it very similar. You know, you've got the High Elves, the Dark Elves. This is the same thing. You've got the Eldar, the Dark Eldar. This is done out of desperation. They're a lot more torturous. They're really trying to flee from Slaanesh and other horrors too. It'd be great if, you know, if the stars aligned with Games Workshop and Creative Assembly, which there haven't been any cross promotion here, but imagine a Dark Eldar DLC gets announced and a new model range for the Dark Eldar. That would be wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. But yeah, you've got fast hitting, very skirmishy style armies here. What makes this faction very interesting compared to the others is they don't really have an empire. They've got a few planets kind of hidden away, and essentially they hide out, come out to get some slaves, and disappear again. It's very, very hard to catch up to any of the Dark Eldar, because they're generally very, very quick. I'd be interested to see how this could be done. Would they be horde factions? Would they be kind of like, well, actually mixing up the hordes and the wood elves in that sense, where you will have a base of operations, it'll be very difficult to get in there, and in most cases your armies will be out and about, building up from there, trying to just send back slaves. I honestly really want to see the Dark Eldar in the game. I can't wait. Obviously, it's only a matter of time with these cases because it is one of those popular races, despite the fact that the model ranges never... Well, look, they're not Space Marines. They won't get model updates that quickly, right? I've got a lot of high hopes because I do feel like we're going to see something a lot different to the normal Total War theme. A lot of factions are going to have to play very, very differently, especially since we know like space is a thing, right? We know that there's going to be a lot going on there. I wonder how it's going to really go when it comes into the really structured races. Okay, we're going to have a quick intermission with just one race, which, I don't know, man. Like, Games Workshop seem to be actively ignoring it at this point. This is the Traitor Guard. They had really, really cool models back in the day in the Forge World era. Then they had some cool models pop up for Blackstone Fortress, which then got made into like a kill team and stuff. They are constantly coming in and out of the setting, which is ridiculous, because if you have Guard, some of them are going to go Traitor, right? And I know it's not the most interesting thing, but they've always showed up, and you see them practically everywhere. Space Marine 2, Dark Tide, there's a lot. And it'd be great if you could play as the whole faction of them. Sure, it's basically just going to be, yeah, get Guard, put spikes on them. But it's one of those things that I think everyone would be kind of keen on it. Sure, I think, and this is actually a big discussion with regards to Guard in general, and I think actually a lot of the factions, I do imagine that they'll probably do some skin packs and stuff. Because at the end of the day, Guard will play like Guard, but there's so many different types of Guard. You've got Krieg, you've got Steel Legion, you've got Traitor Guard. They've got a few unique units attached to them, which I think is very important. But ultimately, that's going to be a thing. And we have seen Creative Assembly do cosmetics before, so don't be surprised if this is a thing. I don't know how that's going to work. Maybe they can do it in a way that it does justify the money, either making it a relatively cheap DLC or a really structured style campaign with a ton of unique units. It's just like Games Workshop are kind of dumbing down the Guard, where everything lately is Acadian. You know, Catachan models being the same models that I've used when I was a kid, which is ridiculous that they've still not been updated. Alright, surprise, surprise for my last one. I mean, really, was anyone not expecting this? Emperor's Children. They got a brand new army finally with new units, not a lot of units. I do wonder how they're going to do the stylized legions there, like the Thousand Suns and stuff. Well, the Thousand Suns have a decent amount of troops, so do the World Eaters, but unfortunately, the Emperor's Children don't have a lot. In fact, they lost a lot of troops too. But it's a faction that I very much like, and by that point, you know, since Creative Assembly like to do DLCs on factions that I like near the end of a series, they might have some new units. This is cool because of noise weapons, right? This is pure excess. There's a lot of melee fighting too. And basically, a lot of the stuff right now is kind of early days. There's a lot of stuff which is basically just Chaos Space Marines Slaneshified. And yeah, that's great. I mean, it's still better than nothing, but I mean, Fulgrim is so freaking cool. Obviously, Demon Princes of Slaanesh and stuff. This is when we can kind of expect that type. I do imagine that we'll get like generic Chaos Marines first, you know, with the Black Legion, and then the separation coming in because, well, now Iron Warriors are getting something. And that's something I'm just looking forward to. Finally, we're at that point in 40k where the main Traitor Legions or Traitor Warbands are finally getting their identity. And it seems to be going faster and faster each time. We've had 2, and now we're going up to 5. Who knows what we'll see in the future? Hopefully the Night Lords. And before you jump in going, well, these are all just Chaos Space Marines that act very much the same. They kind of do and they don't. You know, the Death Guard are extremely resilient. The Slaanesh ones are going to be a bit faster, good at melee. Iron Warriors are going to be very good at sieging. There should be a lot to identify them and diversify them in terms of gameplay. And the Slaanesh stuff really resonates with me. I've got the boxes. I really wish that I had more time to paint them. As you guys know, I'm a tad busy, which I hate using that as an excuse because I really want to paint them. There's something really, really cool about the Lord Exulant, for example, the Tormentors, which are basically just Chaos Space Marines. Lucius the Eternal. The only thing I have a problem with is the cone heads in the Flawless Blades. It's weird. Oh, and also the fact that Games Workshop decided to just gut most of the demons from there. So you can't even use heralds. Like, you can use demonettes and stuff, but yeah, it just feels like a lot was gutted out for the sake of gutting out. But we know that basically they're trying to get rid of Demons of Chaos for 40k for some reason. I mean, that just seems like the general thing. I'm not sure if that's what they're actually intended to do. But by that point, I'm certain there'll be more units. It'd be great if all the main Traitor Legions ended up getting the same amount of love as the Death Guard and the Thousand Sons. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I really, really want VIKRAM in-game, because we know that Creative Assembly can really do great animation, so I can only imagine what they could do with him. So, yeah. There's a lot of factions. There's a lot. But these are the ones I like, and as you've noticed, I kind of lean towards like the evil factions. I like a lot of chaos. In fact, originally this video was going to be mostly chaos. I mean, 3 mentions. Yeah, I mean, look, I like what I like, and it's what I've been building up since I was a kid. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of time, and like, we don't know when this game is going to come out, right? It might be this year, it might be next. We'll have to wait and see. But what factions are you hoping to see get a DLC? You know, you never know, because it could be a Dogs of War situation where they just leave out one, or Games Workshop just cut them off. We don't even know what setting it's going to be just yet. I know a lot of people are excited about stuff, maybe even sub-factions. Like, I know some people are just like, oh, I can't wait for a Salamanders playthrough and stuff, which, I mean, yeah, Salamanders are cool. Apologies for potentially a very late video. We're getting the heating finally installed in the house, and yeah. It's been hell for the past 2 months. Have a great one, guys, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye.